Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. So let's thank our members first: Fulcrum members, the Overlanding 11B, the Foxbat members, Silami, AstroPubG, AftLRS, Justin Field, and Yuyush and Igor. All the Fishman members, thank you a lot, it helps a lot. And make sure to check part 1. This is part 2 of the tier list video, of the continuation of the tier list video of the 10.0 to 10.7 BR, in aircraft. So make sure to check that before you get to this video, okay? So I hope you enjoy, and yeah, let's get into it. Then we go to the Soviet Union, the only aircraft for the Soviets, MiG-21 SMT. I think I should put it in here. It's a bit better than the MF. It's a bit heavier as well. It has to have the pod, as you see down here, to carry the flares. But it has more fuel and it has a lot more power, like 10 kilonewtons, I think it is, something like that. It is very, very powerful, almost the same power as the BIS in a 10.3 aircraft. If you want to, you can remove the pod to not have flares and be a lot lighter, and the aircraft it's really good at flying like that. Has the 4R60s, has the R3Rs. So yeah, very amazing aircraft, very very good, one of the best aircraft, probably my favorite of all of them, So yeah, pretty good. Um, Harrier Gr1, I would say it's kind of OP. I mean, the missiles are amazing at dogfights, but the performance of the aircraft is limited. It can be problematic in turning. It doesn't have a lot of wings, so it's kind of alright in turning, but not really. It's very easy to win a dogfighting in this with basically any aircraft like in here besides the F-104. So yeah, it's just a very very good aircraft. I think it has the flares, right? I don't remember if it has flares, but still, it is an aircraft that has amazing missiles, but the performance of the aircraft lacks a little bit in the maneuverability. But the power to weight is amazing, and yeah, pretty good. Then we have the another British aircraft, the Hunter F6. I think it's kind of terrible, even though it has the OP SRAM missiles, a very limited range, and with the speed of the Hunter F6, it is kind of a difficult one to fly. I would still prefer it to have normal AIM-9s or something like that, and be a lower BR, if it was ever to be used like that. But it is an interesting aircraft. But 10.3 in this aircraft is, yeah, it's a high BR, so I don't know. Don't like this aircraft too much. Then we have the Jaguar Gr1. I think it's not great, not terrible. It is problematic in the air-to-air role, but in air-to-ground it's pretty good. It has the pod down there with thermals and guided bombs and stuff, so it is pretty good to use. It has its problems, as I said, in air-to-air. The missiles are not that good. The M9G has a lot of flares, but still. And the performance of the aircraft, it's kind of weird. It wobbles around a bit, and it is kind of a weird aircraft. But with its BR, it is pretty alright. With the thermal, it can be very effective in air-to-ground battles, in not a high-tier situation like a top tier. So yeah. Then we have the Japanese, so the F-104J. I'm just going to put it in the trash bin. I mean, it is basically the same aircraft as the F-104G for the Germans, but it doesn't have flares. So it has the same engine, same fuselage, same everything. Has the same missiles basically in game. So the M9P for the Japanese and the M9J for the Germans, but it doesn't have flares. So it faces the same problems as the F-104, as I said. It doesn't turn, and it is not that fast. But it's even worse because it doesn't have flares. So it is really hard to evade missiles with this. Just really, really hard. Problematic aircraft. I have a video on that as well. And the Mitsubishi F1, I would say it's. I wanted to put it in here, but I'm going to put it in kind of terrible, because it has basically a lot of the same problems F1 F104. It doesn't have flares, only has the M9s. The gun is kind of weird to use because of the way that the nose works and stuff like that. But it is pretty good at ground striking. It's just that it's alright. I don't know. I mean, the radar can help a lot. It has a very capable radar, pulse doppler and stuff. But at this BR, it doesn't change much. In simulator, it helps a lot, but still, in IRB, it's alright. And Beyond that, the performance itself, it's not a fast aircraft. It loses a lot of energy while turning, just like a Jaguar. And yeah, it just pulls a lot of G's and then kind of sits there and dies, you know. So it is problematic aircraft. Doesn't have flares, so I don't like this aircraft too much, you know. Then we go for China. First of all, we have the Pakistani A5C. So I'm going to put it obviously in the Power Creepers. It is a 10.3 aircraft, if I'm not mistaken, but it is basically a MiG-19. It has a little bit less performance than a MiG-19, but still it is very capable in climbing. It has very strong engines, and it has the magics. It has its problems with the guns, but if you learn how to use them, I mean, the 23mm is a bit. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but if you learn how to aim them, it is a very effective gun, to be honest. So yeah, these aircraft are very scary for most aircraft that you fly here, excluding like the power creeper ones. Maybe even to them, these aircraft is pretty scary because of the magic. You know, the magic missile is amazing. I think it's a 10.0, isn't it? I don't remember the BR of this aircraft, but it is amazing aircraft, amazing. Nothing else to say. F-104A for the Chinese, I would put it on a grade, not terrible. Same thing about the F-104A for the Americans. It doesn't turn. It is fast, but not fast enough. The aircraft that he faces are faster than him, than it sometimes. So yeah, it is just a problematic aircraft. And then we have the F-104J. I'm going to put it on the trash bin again because it still doesn't have flares. Has the 4M9s, but yeah, it's just problematic. You know, it already doesn't turn, as I said before, not that fast. And yeah, with the missiles and stuff, it's all right to get kills, but you get people by surprise because to actually kill people and get aces and stuff, it's pretty difficult. Then we have the F-104G for the Italians. I'm going to put it on the kind of terrible just because even though it has two less missiles than the other ones basically, it has the flares, man. And with the flares and chaff, you just are way more survivable. So even though you don't have the missiles, you still has the flares that helps a lot. It is kind of a problematic aircraft, as I said before. It is not that fast. It doesn't have a lot of missiles. It is fun. Don't get me wrong. I love the starfighters, but they are problematic, you know, in the way that the game works, in the sense that they don't turn and they don't have good missiles and good weaponry, and also they don't have flares or anything like that. So it's just a flying pencil that doesn't do various things well, you know. So kind of problematic. And then we have the F-104S. I'm going to put it on the kind of terrible as well. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love this aircraft, but it still doesn't have the flares. It is a 10.7 aircraft, so it is going to get top tiers, you know, and you will end up dying a lot by F-14s and then MiG-23s and stuff like that. I just put it in here because it has the best engine of the F-104, so this aircraft can actually outrun every aircraft that we see here. But it still doesn't have flares or chaff. The missiles are limited, and if you use the Sparrow, you cannot use the guns. So the radar is kind of limited anyway. So it's just a kind of a limited aircraft. It is fun to fly it, but because of the challenge, not because it is an amazing aircraft, you know. So yeah, the French, they have the Mirages. Obviously, the Mirage 3C, I think it's going to be. I don't know. The performance of the aircraft, it's amazing. I'm probably going to put it on kinda OP. Probably both of them kinda OP. I mean, because of the missiles, the performance of them are pretty alright. They are similarly to the MF in a dogfight in an energy department. The E is a tiny little bit less. It has more weight for the radar navigation and stuff like that. And they have magics, which are one of the best missiles in the game. So yeah, the E even has flares. So they are very, very good. And if you use them correctly, they are even easier to use than the Mirage F1. Obviously, they are being the Mirage F1 is a mess, but still, it is very good in engine department. It is a very good aircraft. It has a delta wing. It is just the only problem with it is that it loses a lot of energy while turning. So you really need to be careful on that. and it has kind of a high BR, especially for the 3C to not have flares, so you have to be careful. The 3E is a little bit heavier, so there are some things that you have to be careful, but they are very, very good. Then we have the Mirage 5F. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put it on the not great, not terrible. It is an amazing bomber, has the magics, but it doesn't have flares or anything like that. It doesn't have a radar, it doesn't have the R530, so it is just a less effective aircraft, to be honest. Even though it is pretty interesting still, it is less effective than the Mirages, the other Mirages, but it's still very good for grinding because of the bombs and stuff like that. And yeah, obviously the Nasher will be the same as the Mirage 5F, you know. Then we have the Jaguar. I'm going to put the Jaguar together with the Gr1A here. It doesn't have thermals, but it has the AS 30L, which is way better than the guided bombs that the Gr1 have. As I said, it doesn't have thermals, but it has night vision with the pod, and it can be a very, very good attacker. And with the magics, to be honest, I'm going to put it on the kind LP, just because it has the magics way better than the Gr1, AIM-9Gs, and yeah, just a very, very capable aircraft. You have to be careful with it. Not the greatest thing ever on the air-to-air roll, but the magics helps a lot. And in the air-to-ground roll is one of the best aircraft out there in this BR. So pretty good together with other ones. Obviously, the A10 is way better than that. Then we have the F8E FN. I'm going to put it directly on the trash bin. It doesn't have an RWR, it doesn't have flares. It only has two magics, which is pretty alright, and you can get, just because of the magics, I'm going to put it kind of terrible. But it is not survivable. I mean, it is very, very a problematic aircraft. It has no survivability at all. But it has two good missiles, and the guns are pretty alright. It can turn very well, so it is a very good dogfighter. The only problem with it, to not be comparable to the F8U and E, is that it doesn't have flares or radar missiles or RWRs or anything like that, so it is just kind of, I get killed by a lot by radar missiles in that when you get up tiered. So yeah. Then we have the two last nations, the Swedish and the Israelis. So the vegan, obviously one of the best aircraft on this BR. I'm going to put it on the kind LP just because it doesn't have, as I said on the video on the AJ37, it doesn't have the ability to carry a flare pod together with a gun pod. It is by far the best aircraft at this BR on the performance, on the radar, anything like that. It beats everything in a dogfight. It is very, very good, very powerful, but it doesn't have the ability to carry flares and guns at the same time, which makes it very, very limited. It only can carry two missiles or two Mavericks. So it is just the payload itself that it limits this aircraft a lot, like a lot. But it is a very capable aircraft in the performance, so it is kind of OP, but if it receives the custom loadout, it will go to the power creepers just because of the performance and the radar, which helps a lot. It even has TWS, I mean, come on. Then we have the J35D, which I'm going to put in the kind of terrible, just because it's at 10.7. I mean, it doesn't have flares, it doesn't have good missiles. I mean, it only has 4 AIM-9Js, and the guns are not that good. Has limited fuel, so it is a problematic aircraft for 10.7. I think if it went to 10.3, you'll be probably OP, a power creep. But at 10.7, it gets a lot of up tiers and into top tier, and it is just not good, you know. And last but not least, the two Mirages from the Israelis. So the Mirage 3CJ, I'm going to put it on the power creepers. The best Mirage 3 that you can fly. I mean, it is amazing. This aircraft is really good. I got like a 4.0 KD with this aircraft before it was even fully upgraded. It is amazing just because of one reason. It is 10.0 instead of 10.3. So it's basically the same aircraft as the C. But with this new BR, you get a ton, you get a lot of down tiers, which means that you have a Mirage 3 still of performance against Sabres, against all sorts of early MiGs. And you have the Chauffeur and the AIM-9D, which the AIM-9D got a nerf, so that's that. but it is a very the chauffeur is very good, and you still have the R530s, man. They are really good as BR, especially the Radar one with nobody having RWRs or even Chef in this BR certainly most of the time. So it is just an amazing aircraft. I love it. It's the perfect Mirage because of the BR. I really wish the Mirage 3C just went down in BR and they removed the Magics to the normal M9Bs. It would be just amazing to have a Mirage 3C in France at 10.0 as well. Just an amazing aircraft. And then we have the Nasher, the last aircraft that I'm going to put it together with the Mirage 5F. Has the same problems, obviously it doesn't have a radar, doesn't have anything like that. It is lighter than the other Mirages, but it still doesn't have flares or anything like that. And especially this one, it has worse missiles than the 5F. So they're not bad, but they're not great, you know, they're really alright. Very cool to fly, but you get kind of bored after a while of jumping bombs and stuff. So it is an interesting aircraft, but it's just an attack version of a Mirage. So yeah. But this is it, guys. What you think? So power creepers, as you see, the kind LP. Obviously, this is my opinion, so a lot of people will differ from my opinion. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. And I know a lot of people like some aircraft and dislike some aircraft, so yeah. But I see you guys on the next one, and I hope you enjoyed. So bye, guys. See you.